go separate ways, cause lately I don't feel the way that I used to.
The success of humans in discovering about the cosmos in last decade is maybe even more than 100%. In the last decade, human discoveries are being very relatively massive and precise as compared to the past. But from then until now, that one question that make people like me curious about cosmology and that question that make a person get indulged in studying about the cosmology is what came before the Big Bang, or in other words, the concept of nothingness. Since now we are able to see advancements in every sector, but this mind Maguire question is as it is. I know that your curiosity about this is still there and it just needs a trigger. That thing that might make it buried in a bunch of your thought is the irrelevant and incomplete answer to it. Nothing. Trust me, this word is in itself comprised of the whole universe. But like that only, still a human mind get confused and deeply understand the meaning of nothingness. Along with this, we still don't have a proper authority that purely and easily explains the concept of nothingness. So in this one, let's try to complete that why a human brain is not capable to understand the concept of nothingness. Firstly, let's cover that why we are still not able to imagine nothingness. So basically, language outside of mathematics is completely inadequate to describe the situation. If I say there was nothing before the Big Bang, you have a concept in place like the vacuum of space or some other equivalent. Our brains evolved to deal with practical and conceptual problems like hitting a moving deer with a spear in 3 dimensions or tomorrow is different than today. We have not evolved to understand, rather to truly understand that there was no thing before the Big Bang. Or maybe there was no before of the Big Bang. Hawking and echoing radiation explains the grand design that without space there is no time. Thus, there is nothing before the initial movement of the universe's rapid expansion. Theoretically speaking, the Big Bang took place at no place and at no time. There is some roughly stated consensus view that there must be some thoughts about multiple universes, cosmic form, and so on. But it does not appear that our universe had a beginning, but nothing existed before it. Again, that nothing isn't a vacuum of space. The vacuum of space forms a part of fourth dimensions Einstein called space-time. You cannot have one without another. Thus, in the same sense, there was no time, no before the Big Bang. There was no vacuum of space. Hard to wrap one's mind around it, isn't it? Human language fails at a conceptual level to explain the kind of thing that took place before the Big Bang. Mathematics, on the other hand, explains it with a certain degree of elegance and simplicity, but again not with accurate proofs. Now, along the concept of Big Bang, in recent time when people aren't able to predict before the Big Bang, they started assuming something else to happen that led to the birth of universe. One of them is the theory of the Big Bounce. It states that most, if not all, matter in the universe will eventually end up being pulled into the black holes. Black holes collide to form fewer black holes. Then the black hole will slowly evaporate by emitting Hawking radiation. Once the last black hole has fully evaporated, the universe will consist of only energy, in which mostly just photons. This is called the heat death of the universe and also is a consequence of second law of thermodynamics. Particles without mass, that are photons, cannot resist the passage of time or how big things are. Because there is no mass around, the universe does not know how big or how quickly time is passing by. Using maths, it can be shown that when this happens, infinitely become a boundary and end. On the other hand, the boundary of Big Bang occurs in the next Aeon. So a new cosmic Aeon begins with the Big Bang. Particles in the Big Bang have so much energy that their mass is insignificant compared to their energy. Inside the Big Bang, it is not possible to register the passage of time or how big the space is because mass is so small as compared to energy, and remember that mass is needed to measure time and size. So the Big Bang doesn't know if it's big or small in the same way that a dead universe doesn't know if it's big or small. The physics of the dead universe is equivalent to the physics of Big Bang. Large and cold is equivalent to small and hot in the same way. For this reason, we can join the dead universe to be the beginning of the next Aeon. During the expansion after the Big Bang, galaxies, planets, and etc. will eventually form. The universe, energy, and matter continue to expand. This is where we are today. Most of the matter of the universe will eventually end up in black holes. We are back at line 1. The cycle continues, and what ion we are in now, we don't know. One ion follow another, and an infinite number of ion will follow infinite number that came before this one. There was no beginning and there will be no end. There does not have a beginning or end that we call time. This theory explains dark matter, invisible matter that we know exists in the universe. There is another strong experimental evidence for this theory. However, the theory is not acceptable by all cosmologists. Work, as always, continues in the beautiful thing we call physics. I don't know why, but people got hung up on the idea of nothing. This is because they just imagine a large, empty lump of space with nothing in it, no matter, no energy. But when you have nothing, not only do you have no matter or no energy, you also don't have any space. And also, this is so difficult, but you have no time. Literally, you have nothing. But how our universe could came from nothing? Well, our universe doesn't came from nothing, but it didn't came from anything which we know as something. All our physical models requires a space-time, a single four-dimensional construct before the Big Bang event. And we don't really know that what was there because the question doesn't make any sense for a human perspective. As human can only think, see or live in first three dimensions. Since there was no time, there isn't a before. But there are some brilliant scientists who have fascinating models of how the physical universe which we experience may have arisen. Cosmologists, at least those in the mainstream, don't say before the Big Bang because the Big Bang actually created time. So time started at the very instant of Big Bang, so there was no before. Literally, asking that what was there before the Big Bang is like asking who was winning the Boston Marathon 2 days before the race began. Even the phrase came out of implies a temporal relation between the Big Bang and the previous thing that came out of it. So there was no before, it didn't came out of anything, and hence there is no paradox. I know it's impossible to turn off the parts of a human brain that presume that there is always a before and the entire concept of a beginning. But it's entirely impossible to wrap our highly evolved monkey brain around. But one of my favorite saying is, it is not the responsibility of the universe to be understandable by humans.